Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Pelzer, and I'm probably going to repeat this a couple of times as people are coming on. But I'm very happy to be hosting our next G session. So, very excited. Welcome, everyone, to the room. Hello, hello, hello. I will be substituting for Mr. Edward Hadell today. He was having some technical difficulties. So I tried to shave and look halfway decent for everyone. But I'm very excited about our show today. So I'm going to be getting our special guest on. So if you guys could just bear with me for a few until she signs on. One second. Oh, hello. There she is. I'm going to try to get her on. 1 second.
Hi.
Great. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Nice
I'm
to
good. I know that you were expecting Edward, so I'm a new fresh face. How about that?
No worries. Yeah. I'm just excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. So we have, is that Arvrel Hill?
Arvolyn. Arvolyn Hill.
Arvolyn. Arvolyn. I just wanted to make sure I say it right, Arvolyn. So thank you
It
very
is.
much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And welcome everyone to our G Sessions. G Sessions is our online project that we're actually doing for the G Project. The G Project is pretty much a very simple idea. Our idea is right now for us, we actually come from somewhere, and the idea is for us to actually share our G status. And we're asking the question to everybody, what is your G status? Our G status, and if you were born somewhere else, your G status would be 0. And then if you are third generation, your G status would be G3. So I just wanted to kind of give everybody just a little bit of the idea of what our G status and why we're asking, and how we'll be able to have this amazing conversation. So Arvolyn, thank you very much for joining us and being our special guest for today. So I do have a few questions, but before we actually do that, I just want everybody to know that Arvolyn Hill is an educator, and she also is a herbalist that actually is, you live in New York City, but right now you happen to be in Connecticut, correct?
Yep. I live in Harlem, but I have been quarantining in Kent, Connecticut with my family since mid-March.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And you are the coordinator for family programs at the New York Botanical Gardens, correct?
Yes, correct.
And could you just kind of share just a little bit about what you actually do there and a little bit more, and so everybody will have a little bit of feelings, and then I'll kind of go into a few of our questions for you.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I've been working at the New York Botanical Gardens, the one in the Bronx, for the past 4 years. And there I am the coordinator of family programs for the Everetts Children's Adventure Garden. So within the Botanical Gardens, there's a children's garden. And there we have activities for kids around science and nature and learning. And I have the opportunity, the privilege to come up with those activities for our visiting families. And then but actually I'm not the one who teaches them. We have a teen explainer program. So we have teens that volunteer with us. Some of them are on payroll and they work for us, going all the way from high school to college. And so I basically train them and they run the activities with the kids who visit. So it's like a children's garden, but also youth are running the museum, which is a pretty cool thing. So I've been in that position for the past 2 years. I've been working at all over the Botanical Gardens. I've worked in the Edible Academy, which is a section of the garden about growing your own fruits and vegetables. I've also worked in the Green School, which is a section of the garden that's all about biomes, and you learn about rainforest plants and tropical plants. But this job that I'm at now is mostly about like habitat, ecology, wetlands, and doing these activities with kids. So it's been really fun.
That's great. That's great. And since we've been in quarantine, I had the opportunity to see that you also, pivoted, and now you're also doing some of these online. So you have your own YouTube channel, correct?
Yeah, it's through the New York Botanical Gardens, but basically when the garden closed down, which is also just wild because like most museums, we just never close. We're one of those places where we're open all year round. Like the garden only closes on like Christmas Day, and that's it.
Right.
And Thanksgiving, so only 2 days out of the year. And actually the garden just reopened yesterday to the public, just to Bronx residents. So it's been closed for the past 4 months. So in that time, myself and other people around the garden have been asked to make videos for the garden's social media pages.
Right.
And as a children's educator, I've been making quick 3-minute videos for people to do at home. Some around like how to start a regrow garden, others on how to observe plants like a scientist, just quick, simple stuff that people can do at home. So they still feel, even if they can't visit the garden, they still have some ideas on ways to stay engaged with plants and nature.
Well, I got a chance to watch some of your videos, and I'm telling you, I was really, really excited, and I was just like, wow, this is great. So before we even get into some of the other questions, how did you get into, herbal, being an herbalist and really loving plants so much?
Yeah, so I went to herbalism school after college. Basically, after college, I went to school for Pan-African Studies, and I minored in English and writing. But
Okay.
after graduating, I moved back home, which is in Connecticut, and I always grew up around nature and plants. But it wasn't until after college that a lot of people in my family, specifically on my mom's side of the family, started to get really sick from cancer.
Right.
And I started to really care about my own health and the health of my family. So, and I also saw how just some Western medicine was really hard on their body. And so I thought it would be just interesting to learn about alternative forms of healing. So I enrolled in a local herbalism school here called Twin Star. And there I took their foundations of herbalism classes and basically learned how plants that I grew up with all around me, like plants I've seen my whole life, have these amazing medicinal qualities, and learning how to use those correctly to make teas and tinctures to share. And I describe it as learning a language, because it went from seeing outside as just being all green to being like, oh, this plant is yarrow and this plant is St. John's wort, and really starting to understand my environment and wanting to protect those plants as well too, because a lot of plants that are considered herbs or wild herbs, a lot of people are like, that's a weed, like dandelion, that's a weed.
Right.
They want to get out their garden. So I really feel passionate about educating people about medicinal wild plants, and hopefully encouraging them not to rip them out the garden, but to use them for their own health and benefit.
Well, I thought it was actually fascinating, and I happen to live in Harlem as well. So again, when you think of garden, you think that you have to have a lot of space and, all of this. And I'm realizing, and especially just the few clips, I mean, it's very fascinating to me that you can actually have, your in-house garden or a community garden. Can you just share a little bit about that as well, about starting a community garden or how that actually really works?
Yeah. So when I moved to Harlem, as someone who is like a total country mouse, I was like, I need access to plants, I need access to nature. And luckily Harlem has so many community gardens through Green Thumb NYC. And actually my roommate was walking in our neighborhood and came home one day and said, oh, did you know there's a community garden right around the corner from our apartment? I was like, what? I had no idea. So I went over there and started to talk to the gardeners there, and they told me, get in touch with Green Thumb NYC, go to their website, and basically come to our meetings. And that's pretty much their big requirement for most community gardens, is you have to show your dedication by coming to the meetings. At that time, there wasn't a wait list to get a plot, so I was able to get a plot. It was only $25 a year to join.
Wow.
They give you compost and starter plants and all different types of resources to help you get started. And I've been gardening there for the past 4 years. This is my 4th summer. Wow. I haven't been there, but my roommate's been holding it down for me while I've been away. And it's honestly, it's a paradise. And I have like not that big of a plot. And I'm always shocked by how much vegetables I'm able to grow in the summer and how many herbs. But then also just windowsill gardening, having stuff right on your windowsill from like regrow food scraps. Like a lot of people I'm starting to learn and sharing that like you can use, you know, scraps from like a green scallion and water and regrow that plant just on your windowsill. So I think right now at a time where like food is, you know, really important, it always is important, but I think, you know, going to the grocery store is more intense than it used to be. So if you can, you know, grow your own food, whether it's just, you know, your scallions on your windowsill, I think it just feels really empowering. Also, I highly, highly recommend joining a community garden. And if there's a wait list, I would suggest just say, hey, because this is the crazy time of year for gardeners. It's like hot, so they're worried about watering. So if you could say I'll help you water, I'll help you weed, they'll probably share some of their harvest with you. And then next year, when a plot does open up, they're going to see that you are invested. Because I think a lot of people, sometimes they come wanting to be a part of it, but they don't really end up following through. But yeah, Green Thumb NYC, that is just a great resource. And it's just incredible how many gardens. I think it's like over 600 community gardens are across New York City.
Really?
And also they will help you if you see a plot in your neighborhood that you want to turn into a community garden. On their website, they have like a whole page about how to do that and like what you need to do to make that happen. So that's how I kind of got involved with it.
No, I think that's great. And thank you very much for sharing. I think that that's actually wonderful. So my question to you, which we always pose to everyone, is if you would please, we would love for you to actually share what is your G status. So for everyone that's out there, again, if you're just joining us, we actually are in our G sessions that we have actually created. We actually have a special guest, which we have Arvolyn here today, and we're asking her if she would share our G status. So G0 is if you were actually born somewhere else and you moved to the United States, you're a G0. If you've been here for 3 generations, then you're a G3, and so on. So this gives us a chance to be able to actually hear other people's stories. As we start to share our stories, we see that we're not so very different. So immigrants are us, and that's what our slogan is. So we're now asking Ms. Hill if you would just share your G status with us and your story, if you would please share it.
For sure. I think that this is just such a cool project. First of all, I had never heard about like your G story until my friend told me about this. And at first I was like, wait, I'm not in 1, 2, or 3. So does that count? So basically my parents are Hugh Hill. Actually, you just see my brother's here, which is great. Hi, Kofi. So also he's a part of my G story. But my dad's name is Hugh Hill, and he grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. And then my mom's name is Cynthia Stubbs Hill, and she grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania. And actually, my aunt, Francine, is also in this chat I'm seeing, and she's our family historian. So when I was thinking about what is my G story, I called her up immediately because I was like, I don't know anything, like, what's going on? And so she kind of helped me go through, because she's been just incredible in archiving our family history, especially through using Ancestry.com. And so I do know through her on my dad's side that my oldest ancestor his name was William Thompson, and he was born in 1842 in South Carolina. So, and if you look we have a picture of him, and he definitely, he looks like a white man, or at least a very fair-skinned person. And he was married to Laura Pitts, who I believe was indigenous. I've always considered myself Black. Both of my parents are Black. And I know that, my ancestors were brought here against their will during slavery. However, I also know that I have indigenous ancestors on my dad's side and my mom's side, as well as on my mom's side, Mennonite, because she's from Pennsylvania. So I think it's my great-great-grandmother who was Mennonite as well. So through learning about this, I don't know if I know the exact number, but I assume it's pretty high just because of that history within itself. So it's been an ongoing journey. We've done the ancestry thing, and they've said like you have family in like the Cameroon and England. It's kind of like all over the place, but yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely, I just consider myself, you know, Black, but I'm learning more about my indigenous roots as well too.
That that's great. And then I see that your great great uncle was from South Carolina. Do you know what part of South Carolina by any chance?
Oh, Aunt Francine, you're on here. So if you want to
Okay,
answer
so
that,
it's Aunt
let's see
Francine.
if she
And the
is on.
only
I
reason I'm
know.
asking Aunt Francine because both my on both my parents' side, everyone's from South Carolina. So we're from Orangeburg, South Carolina, with parts in that Geechee region as well. So again, I was just kind of asking, we could be related in some kind of way. So I just thought that was actually really
That's
great.
cool. What's your last name?
My last name is Pelzer, so Pelzer, and there is a Pelzer, South Carolina, but there's a branch of Jenkins, and then we go into Funches. So I can go back just about 8 Gs, so I'm 8 G generations back on my dad's side, and then on my mom's side it's about 6. Like we can go back about 6 generations. So it was the same thing. I mean, I got a chance to talk to my dad, and I got a chance to talk to my great aunt about story and storytelling, and it's been kind of really cool. So I'm glad that we get a chance to even talk about generation and generation. So I'm going to kind of move on because I have one more question before I have to let you go. But
Oh,
with all
sure.
of this,
She's just to let you know,
oh, Columbia,
she
South
responded
Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, great, 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 great. Yeah, so we do have to talk. We
For
do. We
sure,
have to
for
talk.
sure.
That's actually fairly close. So I guess my third question to you, if you can, share or just tell some of your experiences with some of the people that you've actually are working with or you work with about why it's important for us to be able to talk about, our family connections or to kind of understand where other people are from.
I'm really also interested in that question through my herbalism work because I also, my ancestors have experienced an incredible amount of trauma just from
Right.
slavery and racism. And so I think a big part of like my healing work that I like to do with herbalism is also around ancestral healing and like making those connections about, who were those people, what were their stories, and also probably I might within myself be carrying some of the pain that they might have experienced. It's this idea that I've been thinking a lot about more so, and so it's something that I definitely dive into with my herbalism work too, just like basically understanding these practices and knowing that this is, I think a lot of herbalism has co-opted by like white herbalists, and so
Yep,
like
I
coming
agree.
back to Black herbalism and understanding that these are things that Harriet Tubman was doing, and like these herbs were used by Black people since we've been here, and this is much a part of our birthright, and
Right.
especially obviously indigenous people. So much of herbalism practice is indigenous.
Right.
So I'm thinking about like knowing those things and making those connections, I think is really important, but it's just hard because so much information was never recorded. And
Right.
so it's really, really hard to just even know the stories and who these people were and intentionally not recorded. So that's why I'm just really grateful for my Aunt Francine, who's someone who, at least on my dad's side, has taken a lot of time into like diving into this. And then even on my mom's side, me and my cousin had a family reunion we organized on Zoom because we usually meet up. And we were like, we still want to see each other, but let's just do it on Zoom this
Right.
year. And so many people sent photos, and it really has kind of made me want to like stay invested in archiving, especially through
Right.
photography, because I feel like a name speaks volumes, but then also a picture with it too is just like, it just brings it all together. So I don't know sure if that answers your question, but that's like some of the
It
ways I
does.
feel like I'm trying to stay connected.
And I think that that's wonderful. And I want to thank your Aunt Francine as well, because I think it's very, very important. I'm really into space, balance, and preservation as well. So for me, those are my 3 things that I go to. And being a part of the G Project and these G sessions that we're actually doing 20-minute meetups and just hearing other people's stories, I think it's been very, very powerful. So I want to thank you very much for extending 20 minutes of your time today to share your G story and your G status with us. I just would like to remind and welcome everybody that on Saturday, August 22nd, we're actually going to be having a full What's Your G Status workshop. So we would love for you to participate, and hopefully you'll be able to share that with all of your friends. If you go to the gproject.org website, that will be able to get you started, and you'll be able to see the times and RSVP and register. So it would be wonderful and really great. So thank you very much. Hopefully you guys will be able to share the story. We'll be here next Wednesday at 4 o'clock for another 20 minutes with another amazing story. So hopefully you guys will be able to come and join us as well. And thank you very much. Please be safe, Ms. Hill.
Yes,
Please
thank you.
be safe.
And I brought this. I was told to also bring a family heirloom.
Oh, great.
Is it okay if I show it quickly?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, so this is really special to my family. This is a pin that was made by Vaughn Stubbs, who his name is on the back, but he was my uncle. And he was an amazing artist. He was Black, he was queer, he was from Philly. And he would create these pins out of recycled, repurposed things you'd find at the thrift store, basically. And they're just over the top. We actually have hundreds of them. He passed away in 2016, but when I was asked to just bring something that reminds me of my family, like I couldn't, this, of course, his art is just such a big part of our family. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. It's just a little.
And what was his name again?
Vaughn Stubbs.
Vaughn Stubbs.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. If it's possible, if you can send me a picture, and I would love to actually post it, and maybe if you just have like a few sentences that you would like to share, that would be really great. I would love to actually share that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I would love that.
I'm so glad that your brother and your aunt got a chance to share this space and time with us. So thank you both. And everybody else that's actually watching, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll be able to connect again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.